What's up, everyone? It is me, Natalie Battles, and welcome back to Talking Trash's podcast, The Peace Talks. And as you see, we have three amazing guests for you all today. And as always, it is going to be a wonderful, wonderful show. Thank you all for being here with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Very welcome. I'm excited. So before we jump fully into this conversation, though, you all need to know a few things. If you have not already, go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can catch up on all the previous shows and all the shows to come. But today's topic is on economics, and so all of these amazing guests are going to talk about what they do in relations to economics and inform you hopefully on something that you did not know. So let's jump right on in. We're going to start with Michael LaFargue. Can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Well, good day, everyone. My name is Michael LaFargue, and I am a real estate consultant in the area of residential and commercial properties. Excuse the gaffe, I'm a little bit thirsty here.
No worries.
I'm very involved in the areas of Chicago's real estate, particularly the South Side, when it comes to the need for the development, economic equality, transportation equality, and we have to address the food deserts. But we have some dirty laundry to address as well, and that is the trash in our community. Trash affects values. My business partner and I, we're both commercial and residential, and trash affects the mental attitude of the residents. It affects the crime rate, because if you see a broken window or a trashy area, it attracts the wrong element. They think they can take advantage of you. So as a member of the board of the North Side, I'll say the North Side, Edgewater and Rogers Park boards of development, and members of the 95th Street corridor of development, we have a lot of work to do in Chicago, and we're all involved. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for what you do. All right, and we have Dee Martin.
Hello.
Can you please tell us about yourself, what you do, and why you do it?
Sure, I am Dee Martin, and I am an entrepreneur of all sorts. Primarily, I am a real estate investor. I hold multi-unit properties, which I am a landlord essentially to residential tenants, and then I also own some commercial properties. And I also flip homes. I purchase, renovate, and flip homes, primarily holding and investing in all properties in Woodlawn area, Roseland, and Inglewood. Okay. I also own a chain of salons. I own those salons in Inglewood and Ashburn, which is on the west end of the 79th Street corridor. And as of recently this month, I've opened Urban Lux Cafe, which is on the very east end of the 79th Street corridor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And as it pertains to the litter and the trash and things like that, each one of my businesses and the Urban Lux brand as a whole, we find it very important to be great neighbors. So we don't just go to work and make money and then go home to wherever we live, which I live in one of those neighborhoods that I mentioned. But our businesses have strong initiatives for beautification, and we've had beautification projects in which we bring our teams out, our families out, and we literally pick up the trash, clean up the curbs and the lots and things like that. Because once the neighborhood is clean, our neighbors, it does impact you in a different way mentally, and there's a sense of pride, and so you may behave or carry yourself a little bit differently, and then people will look at your neighborhood as a place, well, like, hey, well, maybe it's okay to do business over here, or is it not so bad? And that can impact us economically as well, too. So that's kind of how we move.
Beautiful. Thank you, and congrats.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to going there.
Yes. And last but not least, we have the fabulous Tiffany. Darling, tell us about yourself.
So I am Tiffany Smirh. I am the Associate Director of Neighborhood Strategies for the South Side and the South Suburbs with Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago. I like to say we help people buy, fix, and keep their homes, and really working in neighborhoods that are often disinvested in, but really are neighborhoods of choice, and just what do we need to do to make people see and want to choose that neighborhood. We got 77 neighborhoods in the city, right? And all of them should be neighborhoods of choice. I'm a Chathamer, born and bred. I'm a Chathamer. Some people say Chathamite. I go with the born and bred. I am a second generation in my home. So literally, the house I came home from, the hospital to, is the house I live in now. My neighbor to the south of me is a second generationer in that house. To across the street, the Toys have been there since before we moved on the block, right? So it is truly home. There's 6 of us on the block that either grew up on the block, were in our parents' home, or we're next door to our parents. And a lot of people find that hard to believe. They're like, in Chicago? Like, it happens more often than not. Very much happens in Chatham. And a lot of that has to do with how we treat each other. And we're neighbors. And so when I was a child walking home from school from St. Clotilde, Mr. Wagner, my neighbor to the south of me, would be on that porch when we came around the corner watching to make sure the kids got to where they needed to be. And as my nieces were coming home from high school at St. Ignatius, which is where I went to high school, his son was sitting on the porch calling me, "Hey, you know the girls are coming home." Yes, thank you, Mr. Wagner. Second generation, right? So my why in doing this really is about making sure we create and hold space the way that I had it, and that nurtured me quietly. Everyone laughs because they're like, "Wait, you're actually living in your house now?" I'm like, "I've always lived in my house." I traveled a lot. My job before this one actually took me pretty much everywhere. Philippines, Panama. So my house just stored my clothes for the most part. But I came home one time and really kind of looked around, and there, as I was turning the block, there was crime tape at the top of our block. And I was like, well, we don't do that here. What is actually going on? And it just kind of opened my eyes to my call centers around the world. My employees were able to send their kids to school, send their nieces to school, build houses. And I was like, that's awesome that we were able to do that with those jobs. What am I doing here? And it really did give me a wake-up call. And it's one of those things of walking my dog yesterday when we had 70 degrees in Chicago. Oh my gosh, bless it. Low concerned. I'm like, low concerned, it's February. But watching everyone out walking our dogs, kids going to pick up their progress reports at Leonard, and parents running out. And I was like, yeah, this is what it used to look like when I was a child. What I noticed, though, that wasn't there when I was there, is there are no garbage cans. And literally, there were garbage cans every other corner when I was growing up in our neighborhood, next to the mailboxes, actually, which are not there anymore either.
Also not there.
So that's another conversation. But I also noticed, too, the dog excrement. And to me, I'm a dog owner. I love my dog. He lives better than most people. I know this to be true. But, as you walk around and you go, geez, it's not even safe for my dog to play, right? Because he can get something from all of these things, and people not really thinking it through, going, this is nice that you have this grassy area for your dog to walk on, but you have to take care of it. And one of those things is, I need you to pick up after your dog. And so it becomes an unhealthy environment, actually, if we don't maintain it. So while we often think of trash in the community as the paper blowing, which, by the way, annoying, but it is what it is, and so we pick it up. But not just the paper blowing and giving us that heavy feeling in our shoulders when we see the dirt in the street, but it's also the health part of it too, that I don't think we talk about enough. And so while we want people to buy, fix, and keep their homes, we also want them to be living in healthy homes.
Yeah.
Shay, thank you for all 3 of you for sharing. And you actually led me into my next point, which is how you got into the career fields that you are in currently. Because we could do a lot of things in life, but you all are in very specific career fields, and entrepreneurs, and helping people get homes, and all the things that you're doing. You mentioned kind of what led you to this. You turned that corner and saw that tape, and that's a rude awakening on the corner of your block. That is scary.
It's very eye-opening.
To some change, for sure. For sure. So for the rest of you, what kind of sparked this interest? And if you have anything to add as well, Tiffany.
Well, I'm very service-oriented. I started my career at IBM. Actually, even prior to that with CTA. That's how I got through college. But that's service-oriented. You want to work and assist and help people reach their objectives. My grandmother was the president of the Park Manor Neighborhood Association for many, many years. before the Dan Ryan divided the community.
Yeah.
I saw her work, and she was engaged. My father was president of the Lions Club, and saw his work. So it's been a part of me for a number of years. I entered real estate through property management, being a real estate appraiser, and all of those were eye-opening to Chicago's many communities. From there, I became very much engaged in our community work, as Tiffany well knows, president of West Chesterfield Parks Coalition. And we have assets that we need to take care of. And meeting CEL and your organization, it just brought upon me the importance of addressing trash issues. And you mentioned dog excrement. Stuart and I are part of the Anti-Cruelty Society's board, yeah, that affects animals, people, humans, attitudes as well. But I hope I haven't overspoken. But being service-oriented, community-oriented, and seeing our parents and what they've done in our communities, Roseland, Inglewood, etc.
That also speaks very much to, like, for Dr. Margaret Burroughs, anyone who knows Dr. Margaret Burroughs.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of Dr.
Ditto,
Margaret Burroughs.
ditto.
She's everything.
She stamped a lot of us.
Man. But she would always ask everyone, what would their legacy be, right? And it's not necessarily the money. I know we're talking about monetary right now in this conversation, but it's not necessarily just that. What both of you all spoke to was the legacy of community. Like second generation, standing on the corner like, hey, these kids coming down. Before cell phones were invented, they were screaming down the street, you know? But that legacy and seeing your parents step up. So now you're stepping up, and how much of an impact can residually vibrate through the generations to come when we step up and we do something, or we say something, and we're involved in our community. Our children will be, or the young people around us would be too. So I just wanted to make note of that, because that's
we
very
model
important.
the behavior, right?
Exactly.
And that's if you can tell anyone what to do, but really what they're gonna do is what they see.
Exactly. And I think that's huge. Thank you, Michael. Dee?
How did I get into what it is
All
that I do?
that you do.
It's a funny story. Literally, I relocated. I started out as a stockbroker. I come from finance, as I mentioned, and landed my first job as a stockbroker at maybe 21. And then the market fell around then. It was around 9/11 or so. And I was out of work. There was only like commission-only jobs available, and I just wasn't into that. Visited a friend in Wisconsin for a week and landed a job and a free apartment for me at that time through a program. So I relocated within 2 weeks and moved up there. During that time, I made 25 years old, and at 25, I'm like, well, I'm grown. I'm a real grown-up. You know, that's a grown person. I'm grown. I'm making some good money. At the time, it was like $35,000, and I was like, this is good money. What do grown people do? I remember we had a home that I grew up in that was gifted to us when my mother got married. But my mother always would say, one day I'm going to get a building. She was a twin. And I'm going to live upstairs and my twin to live downstairs. You know, that was just her dream. So I'm like, well, that's what grown-ups do. They buy a building. So I didn't have great credit, but I saved up money, like $25,000 over a year. And I purchased my first property up there in Wisconsin. It was a 2-flat. For $50,000. I didn't know anything about property or finance in that respect with credit and financing, but I knew if I had $25,000 and it cost $50,000, they wouldn't tell me no.
Right.
And they did not.
That's smart.
They did not. Now, this was around the time when the subprime lending was happening. Okay, I told you I was making $35,000. I'm a 25-year-old kid for all intents and purposes. A year later, I refinanced that 2-flat, and do you know they gave me 10 more mortgages at one time? So a year later, I had 11 2 to 4 unit properties and a single family home for myself. So I had 12 properties, and I did well. And I still kept that job, that little $35,000, you know, because I was just in my mind. I was like, I got to own property, but I wasn't an entrepreneur, right? 4 years later, I was bored with it. So I sold everything. I just sold it. I was like, hey, I'm tired. I'm going to go back home. Went back to Chicago. Sold everything. But I did not know and foresee what was happening with the market. I got out.
Right before.
Just because I was
I was
bored.
like, you're one of those
And
rare
everyone
stories.
else.
I was gone.
Yeah.
The Lord.
Yes. So fast forward like 20 years later, I'm in corporate America, and I'm working as a stockbroker. I transitioned to actually being a commodities trader, and I just didn't want to work for anybody anymore. I just woke up one day, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. I don't want to work for anyone anymore. How can I get out? You know what? I'm getting an itch for real estate again. Let me do this again with property, being a landlord. Even if I've only rented out 65% occupancy, and I can live, I could be frugal, I don't have to be, luxurious living. I can make it. So over a year and a half, I was working for a good company. Finally, if I would have stayed to retirement age, I would have stayed with this company. But it just wasn't for me anymore to commit my days to someone else. So over a year and a half, I was closing every other month. Strategically, every other month, a 2 to 4 unit property I closed on, and a year and a half later, I walked out from a good job, and it was gratifying though. They said, "Well, where are you going?" In that field, they're very competitive. Are you going to another firm? Where are you going?
Right.
And it felt so great to say, "I'm just going to go and live my life," because I truly wanted to see what I could make of myself. So, real estate. I'm a real estate investor. I know how to buy stuff. I know how to rent space out. And now I know how to fix things, and I have a partner who's my husband now. You gotta be strategic, right? He has he has a construction company, so we work very well together. And so now we flip homes together, and so I know how to rent out space is what I know how to do. But now I want to diversify, right? Because now COVID is happening, and I remember when the market fell before. I'm making all of my money off real estate. What can I do? I'll open a salon because I just purchased my first mixed-use property. What will I do with the bottom? Made a salon, rented out the booth, and I have residential upstairs. I can make money. So now I have a brick and mortar business.
That's right.
From working this great corporate job and a job or two before that, but this last one specifically, I had the ability and the autonomy. I was a trader on the trade desk, but I didn't have to sit there all day during the market hours. I was able to be a part of different employee resource groups. I was able to go to the CEO of this big firm and ask for their money for a budget, and I was able to bring that money to our neighborhoods and teach and talk about financial literacy and investment and things like that. I said, this is so great and it feels so fulfilling. And through that, I was able to discover my natural gifts of giving and commitment to community. So now I have my first business, the salon. I want to be that type of business. I want to be the type of business that's giving back to where we're making money.
Yes.
I want to be able to give to the neighborhood. So that's where my first initiative came. We called it Beautify the Block. And we actually were featured as Chicago's very own. We had a segment for that. So that was good. And so I've just carried that over, and that's my first business in Inglewood. And so we do those things with each of our business, and we'll do the same in South Shore with the cafe.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
God is looking out.
Yeah, because that whole 2000s, I was like getting a little nervous for you. Like, sorry?
I just skated my way through each and everything, 9/11 and, subprime lending and COVID. I built 3 businesses during COVID that are still thriving today.
You take mentees or?
We'll talk about that.
I mean, you say that in jest, right?
No, I'm serious.
It's actually,
I moved into consulting.
Yeah, right?
It's a different conversation because
that is the only way collectively we move forward. Each one teach one, right? And so it's like, okay, you figured it out. Now I'm not going to just sit here and give you these nuggets and you don't do it, right? So I love that you're saying, no, I consult now.
Yes, thank you. You understand why?
Gosh, yes,
thank you.
Because once you assign a value to it, people then take it seriously.
Sometimes.
You want to pay me to waste your money? That's on you. But here's what's going to happen, right? You have an opportunity here, and I'm giving you an opportunity. So I love that.
Thank you.
Just one more thing I want to add about the why, right? For me, it's really interesting because I actually quit my job and was like, I had to travel for a year.
Yes.
Because I was corporate, and it was so funny. I just come back from Nicaragua, and we were like, oh my gosh, we love Nicaragua. We're going to buy a house here. And I was sitting on a conference call with one of my largest clients, and I started looking for vacations again. And that was my first day back. And I was like, oh yeah, no, this is not good.
It's not for me.
And I was like, so I'm spending it as quickly as I make it because I'm unhappy. And kind of to your point, Michael, I went to school with Jesuits. And one of the things when you graduate from Ignatius, they say you should leave here to be a man or a woman for others. And it's so funny. Anytime they call it the cult of Ignatius, which I hate that they do that, but it's true. We all kind of have this AMDG about us, which is ad majorem Dei gloriam. Everything you do should be for the greater glory of God. And I'm not a churchy person. Everybody who knows me knows I'm not a churchy person. But there are certain values that I think our parents instilled in us. I think there's certain values that those doggone Jesuits and Franciscans instill in us, which is you are here for a reason, find your purpose, use that gift to be of service to others. My favorite mantra, it's actually a prayer, but it's, I wake up in the morning, and it was one of the things we used to say every morning at school at Ignatius, which is, teach me to be generous, teach me to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to ask for any reward, save that knowing I do your will. And that's a lot to ask of a person, but if you keep trying, you get to see those little seeds, those little buds that turn into things. And this weekend, on Saturday, my dad just really was like, I cannot believe you downplayed what just happened this weekend. And I was like, we're not supposed to get accolades for what we do. But my sister kind of hit the point home, and she's like, there is a portrait of you on 79th Street right now as an unsung hero of 79th Street. And I was like,
congratulations.
Thank you. But it's so funny because I was just like, but here's the thing. There's Spencer Leak. I'm like, the Leaks, they buried everybody in our family, right? There's Mama Wade. I'm like, we all know, depending on how old you are, if it's Josephine or Captain Harlock, right? That tells your age. Like icons in the community. And it's like, but doing the work quietly does yield its rewards. And so it's about service. It really was, I needed purpose. That was why I was spending so crazily and looking for vacations, and I just wasn't being fulfilled. Yes, we were helping our employees in the Philippines and in Panama create better lives, but I knew we could do more and we could be more impactful here.
Shay, I love that. It's planting those seeds, watching them grow, being able to water them. And I mentioned that actually just on the last episode. That's one of my things. I teach young people as part of one of the things that I do. And I said, I'm planting seeds. It may not take today. It may not take tomorrow. It may be 20 years from now. You don't even remember my name. But life is going to water that. And so thank you all for doing the services that you do, for investing in our community, because you all are definitely investing not just your time and your energy, but your money in our communities. And that is so appreciated. So going back into how economics and all of this ties into litter. Look, I saw the faces. It was like, Lord, let me tell you. Now, people don't compare the two. Like you also mentioned health and mental health and all these different aspects and how that affects your positivity about your community or about yourself, depending on how your area looks. And so we do talk about that on our other episodes. We have the health episode, the mental health. We talk about safety. We talk about economics. And then we talk about environment. But for this one, people don't get the correlation on how money, what does trash have to do with your money? So what would you say to someone who has no idea how trash relates to their finances?
So low-hanging fruit, your appraisal values, right? How your property is appraised, the valuation that is assigned to your house, to your business, the actual structure that you own on that business corridor, super important, right? We already know that particularly in Black and brown communities, and I will be very specific, in Black communities, we have an appraisal bias situation, right? So you have people doing table appraisals, people bringing their own baggage in, and you are appraised by an industry that looks nothing like you, right? Overwhelmingly, the appraisal industry is white male, an older white male. Often those businesses are family businesses, and each one teach one in their family, and it's handed down to the next one. Right now, Urban League is doing great work to diversify the appraisal industry. They're working with Freddie Mac, and I can't remember who the other partner is, but to get more people of color into the appraisal industry so that we can kind of change the tide. That's only step one in that. But understanding that my view on garbage is problematic and litter in the community is problematic, but I also have a context for that, and I can kind of discount that based on this is on a major corridor. Okay, you're close to the Dan Ryan. Here's what happens when people get off the Dan Ryan. This is a factor. Someone who's not from here, someone who's not invested in our community, immediately will downgrade the values. It feeds into their prejudices.
And narratives.
So you're so correct about that, and being a former appraiser
Yeah, I was just
myself, the appraiser is supposed to provide an unbiased attitude or evaluation on a property. And it has been a problem in our community. As a member of the Chicago Association of Realtors Diversity 77 Committee, that's one of the areas that we work on to address. So in your work, in your community work, and the work that Stuart Morales and I do, if there is an appraisal challenge that a community member needs, reach out to us, the Chicago Association of Realtors, and they will work to address that issue or give you strategies on how to move forward.
Well, and understand, right, that you actually have a right to say, I would like a reconsideration of value, right?
Yes, really do.
Understanding what truly goes into the appraisal process. So one of our workshops that we do, not just with residents, but with housing counselors, with industry professionals, is what is an appraisal? What does that process look like? What are the things that should be contained and justified within those? Here are the outlying things that you need to be very concerned about. Because here's the deal, right? Our houses are very, and our properties, plain and simple, are very personal to us, right? Yeah. To me, my house is worth $500,000 because I grew up in it, and doggone it, my daddy put the porch on this house. It's just value. Well, that's personal. That's not, objective. There are objective steps that one must take to appropriately appraise a property. And often we are seeing in our community, that's where they're taking little cutting corners, or using inappropriate proxies, so that the value of that home is oftentimes, you're seeing $50,000.
The reconsideration of value is huge. And if your business, Urban Lux, and other properties that I understand you operate, you mentioned something, you want to be a good business neighbor.
Yes.
That is so important.
That's very important.
But also, it's incumbent on the owner to be able to maintain that property.
Yes.
Okay, in working with a number of appraisers, people try to cut costs or be very cost friendly as far to their renters to keep that renter there, but sometimes they're doing themselves an injustice.
Yes. Yeah.
Because now they can't maintain the property. It's an interesting balance. But being a good business neighbor, keeping your property clean, up to date, and operational is also important. Same with the trash. The point I'm getting to is it's incumbent upon the resident, the neighborhood, to pick up that trash.
Even if it isn't yours.
Yeah.
And hold those businesses accountable too.
Yeah, right. So,
good business neighbors, very important.
So I was thinking too that it could be as simple as with the litter impacting finance, is that if there's a trashy neighborhood, one that's filled with litter and trash, about a lot of people who are not from that immediate area, or who are, they may not enjoy or feel comfortable coming over there. So they don't come over there, they're not going to come to my business or your business next door to me and spend money.
Right.
If it is clean and it's comfortable, more people are likely to come. We'll get more money in, more money will be recycled within that neighborhood, which will make it more economically viable for that immediate neighborhood.
I can give you a really good example, a real life example right now. Those of us who are Southsiders know 79th and Cottage Grove has been a challenge for years. And that it's gotten just incrementally worse. And it's like,
I went to school right there.
Right? What is going on? And I used to play at Grand Crossing Park. Like, what is going on with this intersection, right? And because it has gotten so far to the left, as far as being out of control, the steps that people take to try and revitalize that area, to keep it clean, it just seems like it's never enough. So like this weekend, the whole thing with the portraits, Mahalia's is a new retail space. It's a pop-up space. It's so funny. Nidra Sims, who is the executive director of Greater Chatham Initiative, she and I were in DC in November, and we were in one of these kinds of stores. She's like, man, I want one of these. And I was like, that would be so great. February, she's opening up a pop-up space. I was like, God bless this woman. Oh my goodness. And she got a grant to do it.
That's awesome.
But it's about these little steps. But I gotta be honest with you. Am I naturally inclined to go to 79th and Evans to go and buy candles and earrings? No, it's a worked exercise, right? It is, I have to retrain my brain to go into that space because yes, there's a lot of litter, there's a lot of loitering, there's a lot of things that make you feel unsafe. But as residents of the community, if we don't take the step and demonstrate, folks from outside are not going to do it.
I'm so impressed with one of our new aldermen. Again, we said it's incumbent upon ourselves, but it's also the example that we set, and sometimes it's your mental reminder, pick up the trash.
I love him. Yes, I love him.
This is his new campaign against trash.
Love it.
So along the Dan Ryan Expressway, where people toss things out the vehicles, he has these signs. Stuart and I have offered to help put the signs out. Also, in 2013, you may recall Alderman Brookins introduced this anti-trash ordinance, where if you throw trash on the ground, you could be fined $150. But if it comes out of your car window, it's $1,500.
Oh, and real quick, hold your thought. I learned from a police officer that they can actually tow your car if they see you throwing trash out. So they can tow your vehicle and take it away from you if they catch you throwing trash out the window.
Yes.
We need to enforce those ordinances, especially with now that most of our vehicles have the cameras in the front window. Press that button and send that photo to the police department or the city. I don't know who, maybe you know, but that is one way for us to personally finance or address this issue.
Well, and I want us to be careful though, right? Because it's a funny situation, right? In that we sometimes overtax our communities.
Some things need enforcement.
And so I think we need to be mindful. I think, yes, there needs to be penalty for doing harm, and that does harm. Really a lot of harm to the community. And so there does need to be penalty, but I also want to be careful that it's not a financial burden in a way that it criminalizes, in a way that we create a whole nother problem. To me, it's always, if you can't pay the fine, do some time. Do some time picking up garbage.
Yes.
I don't need you to go to the pokey because you're not going to be contributing to our society. I need you to go and correct your behavior.
You're so
Cure the
correct.
harm.
There's been a cost of segregation in our communities, and sometimes we can't pay those fines, so work it off. But we're talking about economics and how these issues affect our community. My business partner, Stuart Morales, and I, he's an executive commercial broker with Coldwell Banker. And one of the challenges, we were at City Hall yesterday, and we had to commend CTA for finally maintaining, they built a $280 million station at 95th Street.
They did.
We were our organizations, writing the Tiger grants for helping them push that station forward. But they had parkways outward. Greenish. People were throwing tins of ribs out into that area. They had a staging area that they used to build the station, but it was not being maintained or cleaned. Well, they are now consistently cleaning those stations, cleaning the parkways in that staging area.
That should be a given.
Right.
It should be a given.
It's their space.
Good business neighbors, whether it's private sector or public sector. But we did go to City Hall. We gave the president a commendation for that work. Plus, this is one of the first CTA presidents that has done so well as far as capital improvements. We know we all have other issues on our CTA trains, but the red line extension being approved out to Oakdale Gardens. The cost of segregation to that area has been tremendous.
Loss of wealth, The
red purple line modernization project in Rogers Park, the group that we're part of, hugely, and that affects what happens on 130th Street. But this man has invested capital into those projects, but the point is, he is starting to keep that little area at 95th Street, which you and I are heavily involved in, Tiffany, clean. That's going to mean a lot to developers that come out to invest in that staging area.
And with Talking Trash, we did a series. Each year we did a different area, but one year we did a red line cleanup. So we went down the red line cleaning up at detriment stations, and we would do it as a pop-up. So we would post it if you see it. And lunch break, come on out. We would clean up for an hour. You can go back to doing whatever you're going to do. So we stopped at different red line stops, and then the next year we did green line stops. And so we went down the green line and we cleaned up the different spaces in the same thing. And so we'll be doing similar things this year where we'll do those pop-up cleanups and partner with different businesses and churches and organizations in the area to also activate those people that live in those areas as well.
Do you feel too, like, I know my father's family is originally from Alabama, and when you got into the state when we were a little kid, you crossed the line and go, Alabama the beautiful, and every couple miles somebody had adopted that highway, right? It is amazing to me how much industry we have in the city of Chicago, that we don't have each of these business corridors, sections of these business corridors adopted, not just by the local businesses, the mom and pops, which, look, they're working up against a hill on a lot of these blocks. I'm like, I commend you, but I know you just came out here and cleaned this and somebody just dropped it right back down here.
2 seconds ago,
It's just like ridiculous. I get it. But we keep doing it because you're like, if I don't, it's just going to become a mountain. But why is it that we're not talking to our private sector corporations, not the mom and pops, but the corporations who benefit greatly from being here in this city? You go over to Fulton Market. I don't think anybody recognizes Fulton Market anymore. I used to be able to get my meat real cheap over there. Now I'm spending, how much for a cup of coffee over there because we've got our Googles and all of those folks. Why are we not tapping those folks to help us financially keep these corridors clean, to help turn the neighborhoods around? Yes, you live in Fulton Market, but understand that Fulton Market is not an island unto itself.
That's a good point. Yeah. Very good point. Sarah Dunlap has traveled to Africa, one of the cleanest cities in the world is there. You might know the name, but they have bringing up fines again, heavy fines if you drop trash in the capital area. But the audacity of someone to just throw trash in the ground as their personal trash can. There's another idea that comes to mind regarding that, but branding a community, such as you work on 79th Street, the area that you're working on for Urban Cafe, we're looking at 111th to 116th in Michigan. That could become Magnificent Mile South again.
I don't disagree.
And there's so many areas
used to be there. We used to get our uniforms.
It can be a beautiful space, and if we have the investment. So going back to how that litter affects, if we have these impoverished, dirty, rundown areas that we're doing, and it doesn't get cleaned up, no one wants to invest in those spaces. And those investments brings businesses, it brings higher traffic, it brings resources, it brings funding, it brings all of these things that can turn a community around. Absolutely. And so we have to think about how litter affects our money, whether it comes to your property taxes, your house appraisals,
fast food taxes,
like all of it. So we really have to be mindful of that.
Yes.
And customers, because if someone doesn't feel safe coming to your space, then that business is losing money. The business that are employing people from the area goes out of business,
and others won't open up near you.
And it's a whole ongoing thing.
I would love to tap onto that though, right? Because where your cafe is, right, it's very close in proximity to one of the developments we're working on. Neighborhood Housing Services is working on with a number of folks. The Thrive Exchange, right? And so it is to kind of create this reimagined space that has been overlooked for so long. It is amazing to me how the South Shore, and I'm just going to say the South Shore, the South Shore, not South Shore, but the South Shore has been so neglected. That is prime real estate, and I hate to say it aloud because then it's going to bring they're already
they're
already there.
They always ask me, what made you, open it here? I'm like, why not here? Are you serious?
It's beautiful, right?
We literally
and
just
if you
said
listen
that.
to the head of the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, and she's like, it's one of the last black communities.
It is
on the water, on the lakefront. It is
on the
that has the city's largest natural asset, right, which is the lake.
Combination that we made at City Hall yesterday. Alderman Greg Mitchell, property sold St. Michael's right there on 83rd and South Shore Drive. He worked with the community with Epic Academy and that's going to be redeveloped into a major school. So important. So you're in the right location.
We don't have to tell her that. She actually has a knack for this. We already know.
Right.
I'm just gonna follow her. I'm like, where you open this?
I'm broke about. I'm gonna have to sit next to
Listen, I'll be a mentee, but I'll take notes. But again, thank you all so much for coming. This has been so informative and just a really great conversation.
There's so much more to talk about.
And so much more. And
what they're doing in other cities,
going.
our SSAs, and how they help cleanups.
And we're going to keep going. So thank you all for joining. We'd love to have you come back. If you all know, Michael LaFargue, this is his second time on the show.
And, we're talking economics, and I think we should make it rain. We're talking economics. trash.
Pick it up and then
Thank
turn
you.
it into finances. Turn it into the monies, y'all. So really quickly, please leave the audience with how they can get in touch with you, how they can support, and if you have anything coming up.
Michael LaFargue, the Good Neighbor Team, commercial residential, 773-251-0760. Call, text me anytime. I'm here to assist.
Yes, and he will make it rain.
I am Dewan. I go by Dee Martin, and I'm with Urban Luxe Brands. I would like everyone to follow Urban Luxe, that's Luxe Cafe Chicago, on all social media platforms. And then our website is urbanluxecafe.com.
You can find neighborhood housing services at www.nhschicago.org. All platforms at NHS Chicago. And then if you want to talk on the phone, because I know some people still do,
Yes.
you can give us a call at 773-329-4111. So you can get the 411 on housing. Couple things just to always be mindful of. We are here to help. Our services are free. HUD certified housing counseling is vital if you are going down that pathway to home ownership. It is so heartbreaking for people to come to me after they have bought the home and they didn't do the inspection. They bought the home and didn't do, and it's like, wait, what? Why did you? Or they're looking for a home and they don't even have a pre-approval and their heart's getting broken. I'm like, no, you're working out of order. I need you to come and talk to one of our HUD certified counselors. So HUD certified counseling priority. It's going to help you save you a lot of heartache. It's also going to help save a lot of money, so you're not making missteps that really can be avoided with the appropriate training and counseling. And understand too that we offer workshops for free online, and we are also back in person. Our Southside office is on 87th Street in the Seaway building at 639 East 87th Street, and we actually have parking, so yay. Come on through. But most importantly, we are here to serve. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. You will see us this weekend, actually, at Project Hood's Housing Resource Fair in Woodlawn. You will see us the first weekend in April, at the Chesterfield Community Council's annual housing fair, which we always love. That tells me spring is coming, though I know so you will see us throughout the community. I know we work with Trinity, so we'll be doing some stuff in the autumn with them around housing resource fairs. And if you live anywhere in proximity to 95th Street, I need you to raise your hand. Either you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Michael LaFargue, you can reach out to the folks at Indalejo, but your voice is so important right now. As we really map out and reimagine what 95th Street can look like. There's a lot of vacant land on 95th Street. There's a lot of litter floating around because we got so much vacant land on 95th Street. That vision of what's to come and how we leverage the benefits of that red line extending so far out, we want us to benefit. You endured it when it was not a good place to be. Now it's time for you to have your say so that you can benefit.
That's big.
I love that. Well, thank you all so much. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all of you for joining us and giving us your time. Make sure you share this with a friend who needs this amazing information, and reach out to these people because they are here to help, and you need to support them too in all their endeavors that they're doing. We also want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Habitat for Humanity. We are in a Habitat house right now. Yes. We love Habitat and we appreciate Habitat. They do great work in different communities around the Chicagoland area. They too also help helping you understand the house buying process. They are also a lender as well as a builder of these houses in these different areas, Grand Crossing, West Pullman, and moving over into the Austin area.
And a little bit of Roseland too. So don't think that there's only one HUD certified housing counseling agency in Chicago. No, we play in the space together. We're all friends because there's so much help that is needed out there. So wherever you can get the help, go do it. Our buddies over at Habitat are awesome and super supportive.
And listen, talk to both of them.
You can.
So thank you again so much for watching. Again, make sure you subscribe, share, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
We We got to come together, we got to become better. We got to find the difference like the change in the weather. We can't be flowing, dancing in the wind like we some feathers. I'm trying to build a couple homes so we can have some shelter, or maybe feed a couple people so they stomach better. I'm trying to build a nation that go through generations. You gotta have the patience, I wouldn't call it waiting, but honestly all my prodigies gon' be contemplating on ways to break through the curses that had our mamas aching and all our daddies bleeding. I'm trying to find a reason, but I ain't here for weeping, cause our community needs some unity and some peace. I'm trying to go ahead and slay through all our enemies. They trying to go ahead and shake up all our energy.
Take your power back. We can't wait on nobody else to save us. We can and will save us. We got everything we need. Our community, our responsibility.